Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here. And today we're talking about Manchester United's greatest achievement, the best achievement in footballing club history, the treble. But how was the treble won? Well, the treble was won the season before. What are you talking about, Mick? The season before, we started so well. We thumped PSV. We were doing so well. Sheringham and Cole, even though they couldn't stand each other, were playing really well together. Sheringham had been brought in the season before as a replacement for Eric Cantona. Poor Teddy. I mean, how would you handle coming in, having to replace the king, Eric Cantona? But he came in. Do you remember the penalty he missed against Spurs? I was devastated for him because we know how great Cantona was at penalties. In fact, he missed one or two penalties his entire time at the club. He was an amazing penalty taker. But anyway, we had a really good season. But what happened was we started getting injuries. We were about 12 to 16 points ahead. And Arsenal had been really good that year, Wenger's Arsenal, and they caught up on us. And I remember the day that they came to Arsenal and they won 1-0 from an Overmars goal. I remember Schmeichel hobbling along and Pallister hobbling along. It was really difficult. It was a difficult day. Actually, I'm not sure if it was Pallister. I remember I was walking to Bromley High Street. I decided to go out because I couldn't handle the tension. I was so scared. This is what I used to do. I couldn't bear to watch big games. I was too nervous. So we used to have an orders then. And you could go up there and play with the tellies and put the teletext on. And that's what we used to do back then. We used to have teletext. Went up there, put on the teletext. Manchester United 0, Arsenal 1. I actually cried. I cried. I went back. I paced up and down my room. It was terrible. And from that moment on, I mean, Arsenal weren't going to lose a game. They were already on a great run of form. We had lost. I remember how horrible it felt. And I said to my mates and my family, they said, we're switching it off. We don't want to see them lifting up the Premier League. And I said, no, watch them. For the pain you feel right now will be reversed the following season. Now, I'm not saying I predicted the treble, but I was very confident that we'd win the league the following season. I didn't know how amazing Arsenal were going to be in our treble winning season. I don't think there's a better title race in Premier League history. In fact, in footballing history, you've got two strong sides. They keep on telling us that this Liverpool side and this Manchester City side are the best ever. That Mourinho's Chelsea are the best ever, better than what United achieved. But let me be clear to you, right? Those two sides, United and Arsenal, there's not a better side in the Premier League before or after. The battle, it was, we bumped heads. It was amazing. I think we won by 1 point in the end. It went right to the end of the season. It was very exciting for everyone else, but very nervous for me as a Man United fan. So as we come into 98-99, we bought Jaap Stam, Jesper Blomqvist and Dwight York. Do you remember the famous phrase from John Gregory at Aston Villa? When he told me he wanted to leave, if I had a gun, I would have shot him. Amazing. I used to love John Gregory, a blatant, honest footballing man. But what did I think when we signed Jaap Stam? I knew we had to, look, we all knew we had to spend money, especially on the defence. In fact, the reason I'm doing this video is because I saw Jaap talking on Sky Sports yesterday. And it was very interesting to hear him talking about those days. I didn't know anything about Jaap Stam apart from he was very tall. He was amazing. You could literally just have him in defence while the rest of the team were going forward. He had pace and power. He was a great defender. But I didn't know much about him until I saw him play. Now, Jesper Blomqvist, I quite liked him. I thought that's a good signing. Unfortunately for Jesper, he had injury problems. But in 98-99, he did play some games and he was pretty amazing. I remember us beating Southampton 3-0. I remember us thrashing Everton, was it 4-5-1 or whatever it was. Jesper was a really good player. So then you got Dwight York. We all knew who Dwight York was. I was really excited about that signing. I didn't know what was going to happen when he signed. What I loved about him was not just his ability that he could score goals. He played the game with a smile on his face. In fact, the guy always seems to smile. And for a guy who got Jordan pregnant, that's a great achievement. God, Dwight, how did you let her sink her nails into you? Anyway, been there, done that. Don't want to talk about that. Anyway, but what he did, he changed the attack. Now, our attack the season before, as I said before, was brilliant. Everyone was scoring. Before we had injuries, we were going to win everything. And unfortunately, it didn't work that way. But we weren't thinking about the treble. We had to qualify for the Champions League. We had to play against LSK Lodz, was it? I remember that. Really, really two tight games. And then we drew 2-2 with Leicester. Of course, that was the year after the infamous World Cup when Beckham was sent off. Everybody hated Beckham, but of course, no one with that red devil badge on their chest had any hate for David Beckham. I'm a big England fan. He got sent off, so what? He did something silly. I certainly am not going to start, hating my own player. And I mean, the extremes it was taken to were ridiculous. So anyway, we started solid enough, but there's no question we lost the Charity Shield against Arsenal. They looked strong again. They really did. Physical, tall, amazing team. As I say, that United and Arsenal team, there's never been a better title race, because what it is now in the present day, there's like, you've got dominant sides like City, Liverpool, Chelsea, but it seems to me that one always kind of runs away. Now, you've got a tightish race this year between City and Liverpool, but it's still nowhere near. At the end, one of those teams will get away from the other. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But back then, title races were tight. Most of United's title races were tight, and we most of the time didn't win them by many points. We did sometimes, but most of all they were tight. And it was more competitive back then. And the football was more exciting. It was more open. The Premier League's changed. So, yeah, best two teams ever. I don't care what the stats say. It's obvious, isn't it? So Arsenal were amazing. And it was interesting to see. Now, when we came up to Christmas, that's when we really blipped. We weren't playing well. Middlesbrough did us 3-2. Was it 3-1 or 3-2? That was a shock. We lost 3 games all season. But we didn't play well. And I remember when we were away at Charlton, that was such a big win. 1-0, injury time, Dwight York with a header. That was the catalyst. Then we had Liverpool in the Cup. What a comeback. Our current manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, scoring in injury time. I remember seeing that Liverpool fan in the yellow and red coat crying. I'll never forget him. I wonder what he's doing now, by the way. But so all of a sudden, things changed. We were okay in the first half of the season, but we weren't fantastic. The year before, we'd been amazing the first part of the season. It was the second half that we struggled. You see, United, really, the United I can remember in the past 20, 30 years, always either struggle in the first half of the season or the second half of the season. Already this season, we've struggled in the first half, but we're doing amazing in the second half right now. So we went on this amazing run. But at the time, there was no talk of any treble till about April. And I used to say to anyone, do not mention the bloody T word. You're going to put the putt on it. It's literally impossible. Let's see what happens. Then you get games like the Juventus game, where we're 2-0 down in Turin. I switched the telly off. I was crying again. I couldn't bear to watch. Woke up the next morning and found out we won 3-2. Watched the highlights. I couldn't believe it. I regret being like that back then. I missed historic moments because I didn't have the guts to watch my team. I was too nervous. Of course, I don't do that anymore, but I was different when I was younger. So I missed out on that. But what an amazing performance. Keane gets the yellow card that will suspend him from the final. But he plays like a captain and he helps us win that game. Amazing. Seeing Cole score that winning goal. Full speed ahead, Barcelona. Remember Clive Tilsley? Great commentator. And it's just amazing. I can't, oh no, hang on. Let's go back a bit. Because I'm remembering the The quarter-final was before the Juventus game. Juventus were the semi-final, weren't they? Sorry, not an Anorak United fan, by the way. But yeah, the Inter Milan game was interesting because we'd won 2-0, right? So then we went there and we didn't play particularly well against Inter Milan. I mean, they were a very good side back then. So they scored and I was shitting it. Now, I was in Heroes down in Croydon. Because what we used to do every Wednesday night, we used to go to Heroes and we used to go to the Blue Orchid. Sadly, no Blue Orchid anymore. Actually, hit a like if you remember the Blue Orchid, eh? Hey, come on. Anyway, right, yeah, so I remember, so there was no hiding place for me. I was watching it with my mate Wayne back then, not mates anymore. That's sad, but that's life. But yeah, so anyway, Scholes equalises. And I remember Clive Tilsley's commentary again. The goal that doubles the trouble for Inter Milan. And, you know, and it was just amazing. We didn't win that game, but we didn't have to. It was amazing. A brave performance. We were really up against it that night. We've already spoken about the Juventus game. Then it was getting very nervy. Because imagine it, you played Juventus in the semi-final. Then I can't remember what order we played them in. But then you've got Arsenal in the semi-final. And wow. This was the last semi-final replay anyone would ever play. It was historic already. Who knew when we went into that night? And I was really nervous, but actually I watched the whole game. I never backed away and I watched it with my brother. We had Sky back then. What a game. What a game. We start off so dominant. Beckham scores all worldly. We're happy. We're dominating. Then all of a sudden in the second half, they equalise. It looks like we're going to lose. Keane sent off. How, you know, Arsenal would have to be kicking themselves if they lost at this point. And they did. Because both teams had given everything. And what was it that Martin Tyler said when Vieira did that misplaced pass? A weary one from Vieira. You see Giggs running and running and running. Surely he's not going to do it. Giggs doesn't really do this very often. It's amazing, actually. We all remember Giggs as a great player, but very rarely. He had the ability to go past people and score great goals, but he didn't really do it. It was an amazing moment. He scores the goal. Hairy chest comes out. Another historic moment. A beautiful moment. And if I go back to the season before when I said to everyone, watch Arsenal lift the Premier League, because all the pain we're feeling now, it will be in reverse the following season. And it was. And this is what I said. Now, I didn't think we'd win the treble, as I said. So it was an amazing night. So the reporter talks to Sir Alex and he goes, look, Sir Alex, you played extra time. You know, you didn't need this, did you? He goes, yeah, but can you take that away? The feeling those fans have had tonight? It might blow up in our faces. But, you know, this is what football's all about. Brilliant manager, brilliant guy. Not perfect, by the way. There's a video I did ages ago talking about the Glazers and Sir Alex's connection to that, because I think we've got to be straight with history. But, you know, great manager. What he did for our club was, it was Roy of the Rovers. It was Rocky Balboa, wasn't it? And so, the final day of the Premier League, we go 1-0 down at Old Trafford against Tottenham. And you think, I come back from work, because I couldn't watch the whole game. I could only watch. So when I came back, United were losing. But we, you know, brilliant. Beckham equalises, and Andy Cole probably will never score a better goal. Brilliant. The transformation of Andy Cole just through Fergie buying York was amazing. The problem Andy Cole had at Manchester United in his early career, he was basically a goal hanger. He was just a striker, a goal scorer. Well, Fergie wanted to make him an all-round player. I think a lot of people were saying that you don't change someone who's that good. But Fergie was determined. And Andy suffered because of it at first. But slowly, and it all began in 97-98, it actually worked out. He started to improve. But when York came, he totally became a world-class forward. It was amazing. Him and York got on. They were mates. It was a great thing to see. I used to have fist fights with my brother over Andy Cole. He used to say, shit, get rid of him. And I used to stick up for him. Yeah, but he's getting the chances. He'll be all right. I was one of Andrew Cole, because he hates being called Andy, by the way. Sorry. But yeah. So that was a great story as well. To see Andrew Cole become such a great... I mean, he was amazing at Newcastle under Keegan, but what Ferguson did to that player and making him an all-round centre-forward was amazing. But as we get to the Champions League final, we've got no Scholes. We've got no Keane. The heart of our midfield's gone. And we suffered. We were ordinary in that game, and Bayern Munich deserved to win that game. They battered us. But what happened was, like all great champions, we battled and battled. We rode our luck. That's something else great champions have to do. They hit the post 2 or 3 times. Schmeichel beaten. Then they took off, you know who? What's his name? I forgot who he was. The one who looked like this as the final whistle went. You know, like in Rocky 4, when you see all the Russians like not believing that Rocky's beaten Drago. It was a bit like that. Mateus. So they took Mateus off because they thought they'd already won. But they never scored the killer goal. So all of a sudden, we basically score a basic goal. A typical English football guy, I suppose you could call it. And again, Ollie's winning goal. Basic. Basically, they were tired. And once we equalised, we were going at them. They were shocked. What beat them is they took us for granted because it was the biggest 1-0 victory I ever saw. But they never killed the game off. And United weren't going to give up. You know, he said to them at half time, look at that trophy because that's as close as you'll get to it if you don't do something about this. Classic kidology from Sir Alex Ferguson, and this is what makes a great leader. So we won it. I've never had a better feeling in my life than that night, but I had a headache after that. Mate calls me up, you're coming down the Crown, that's where we used to go to drink. So we were sitting there celebrating. Even my other mate, Mark, who was a Tottenham fan, he's not my mate anymore. It's sad. I do miss them. But yes, the feeling. We won the treble. We've done the impossible. Not even the great Liverpool sides achieved that. And no one's come close to doing it. Nobody. And I don't believe anyone will do it again. And that's the story of the treble, everyone. People tell me not to look back. But sometimes you have to. This is the greatest achievement in club football. This achievement will be passed down from generation to generation. Remember when Man United won the treble? No other club in the world of football, in the world of club football, could ever boast the same achievement.